One who have unlimited source of grace, mercy, and blessings. All matters will return to Him. And Allah is well aware and know and record everything that we all do. I bear witness there is no creator except Allah, the one and only, with no partners, the Almighty, and a sure truth. I bear witness that Muhammad, peace be upon him, is His servant and messengers. O Allah, we send regards to Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, and Ali, and all the righteous companions to the day of judgment. My dear brothers and sisters, our talk today is about those who love one another for the love of Allah, the Almighty, and what they hold of high rank with our Creator. The high rank in being in peace and bliss, as all are called for Judgment Day, a very hard day. The high rank of being shaded with the shade of Allah and eternal bliss in the highest levels in heaven. Love is the most honorable emotion a man can experience. And it is different, and there is different kinds of love. The highest is the divine love which develops in brotherhood for the love of Allah. And we have to understand what the love of Allah means. Love which materializes in harmony, affection, and sincere wish of goodness to the loved one for the love of Allah and what Allah loves. It is a love where hearts collaborate in aim and intention to love all what pleases and accepted by the Almighty Allah and hate all what anger Him and displease Him. That is the meaning of the love of Allah. Love for what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless and what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept, and staying away from what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala dislike and anger. It is a love that originates for the love of Allah and for His sake only, which increase with the increase of obedience and decrease with its decrease. Those who enjoy this divine love attain the honor and nobility in this life and then hereafter, enjoying special place and most generous return. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordained in His wisdom on the tongue of His Prophet, peace be upon him, the person will always be with he who loves. What a blessing and what an honor for those who loves for the love of Allah. My dear brothers and sisters, when the Muslim loves his brother for the love of Allah with no earthly need or blood relationship, that honorable love will bring both to the care of Allah in this life and in the hereafter, enjoying many special honors and many special nobilities. First, they would be protected and surrounded by the love of Allah and showered with His generosity and goodness. Imam Ahmad narrated on authority of Ubadah ibn Samit, may God be pleased with him, that he said, I heard the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, saying that Allah, the Almighty, the Generous, said, my love is granted to those who love one another for my sake. My love is granted to those who connect with one another for my sake. My love is granted to those who visit one another for my sake. And my love is granted to those who return goodness to one another for my sake. To you who seek the love of Allah, love for His sake and only for His sake and pleasure. Allah loves you in earthly life and in the hereafter as the reward always from the same substance of the deed. Whatever deed you do on earth, inshallah, the reward will be from the same substance of that deed. And know that the bounties of this kind of honorable love are granted when not tainted with any deception or dishonesty. As the love of Allah increase, the love of His righteous servant increase. So examine who you love and who is around you in brotherhood and association. Very important for you to examine that. Who are around you in association and in brotherhood. Dear brothers and sisters, he who live his life loved by Allah will enjoy the day he dies the fruit of this love in his grave and when he is resurrected. When presented to Allah in the day of judgment, Allah knows him and will honor him before all mankind, showering him with his blessings and bounties. He will be seated in the most noble status and illuminated with the light of his heart, which guided him to choose who to love and who to take as a companion on earth. That light who guide your heart to love the righteous and to love the goodness in people and others for Allah's sake, that heart will be a light for you in a very hard day. Imam al-Tirmidhi narrated on the authority of Muaz ibn Jabal, may God be pleased with him, that he said, I heard the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, saying that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Almighty, said, those who love one another in my name, majesty and honor. That's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talking, speaking in the Hadith Qudsi. Those who love one another in my name, majesty and honor, will have podiums of light, which will be envied, which will be admired by the prophets and the martyrs. Those who attain such a status, being distinguished with podium of light, are admired by the prophets and martyrs and those who are behind them in ranks. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the generous, combine for them the bounty of light and shade in a very harsh, hot, challenging day. Imagine being showered, shaded by Allah's shade, and have light to guide you in that hard, harsh day. May Allah make us among them. It is narrated in both Sahih about the 7 who will be shaded by the shade of Allah in a day which only His shade will be available, the Almighty. Among them, 2 men love one another for the love of Allah. They collaborate for His sake and path until death separate them. They stay in that condition of goodness until death separate between them. That indicates that these 2 blessed ones stayed on a divine love of faith and guidance. Love is not just a word. It's a love of faith and guidance, being on the straight path, the clear path. The Quran said for us, and the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, elaborated on it so we don't deviate in any direction. Among the nobility of this elite group, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the merciful, call on them as all His servant watches, inviting them to take shade in His shade of His throne, calling on them in the name of their mutual love for the love of Allah, to honor that kind of a love, that sincere love that is free and clear from any earthly needs and wants. It is narrated in Sahih Muslim on the authority of Abu Hurairah, may God be pleased with him, that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, Allah the Almighty said, where are they? Where are they? And Allah the Most Knower, He's saying, where are they who love one another in my name, majesty and honor? Today I will shade them in my shade. In a day there is no shade except mine. When that challenging day, which all mankind experience, end, those elite in their honorable status of light and shade move on to the highest level of heaven and seen like the brightest stars in the far distance. We're talking about heaven. They will be to those in heaven looking like the highest stars in distance. Imam Ahmad narrated on the authority of Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, may God be pleased with him, that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, those who love one another for the love of Allah, you will see their dwellings in heaven like the brightest stars in the east or the west. It will be said, who are they? And it will be said, those are who love one another for the love of Allah, the Almighty, the Merciful. This is collaboration for goodness. This is collaboration for the love of Allah and His path. My dear brothers and sisters, that status, what a status and what a nobility and what a bounty from Allah the Beneficent. How many prudent Muslim would deviate from seeking that rank following his self-evil desires, and seeking the demised earthly life. Let us all cleanse our heart from all diseases of the soul and ascend with it the ladder of goodness and righteousness for the love of Allah and the love of His obedience. A goal which leads us to the love of Allah and His devout servant, reaching the rank of those who there would be no fear for them and no sadness. Imam Abu Dawood narrated on the authority of Umar ibn al-Khattab, may God be pleased with him, that he said that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, among the servants of Allah who are not prophets or martyrs. That's open for all of us. It's a high goal. May Allah make us strive for it. The Prophet said, among the servants of Allah, people who are not prophets or martyrs will be envied, will be actually admired by the prophets and the martyrs in the day of judgment for their rank with Allah. They've been admired for what they hold of goodness and rank with Allah. The Prophet was asked by his companion, may God be pleased with all of them, tell us about them, O Prophet of Allah. Who are they? The Prophet responded, they are people like you and me who love one another for the love of Allah and His guidance. They do not have any blood relationship or money dealing which they are interested in by Allah. And that's the Prophet swearing by Allah. Their faces are light. They are light. They are not afraid when everyone will be afraid. They will not be sad when all others are sad. Then the Prophet recited verse 62 of Surah Yunus, which can be translated, behold, verily on the devout servant of Allah there is no fear, nor shall they grieve. Those are the devout servant of Allah, my dear brothers and sisters. Now you experience all the honor and nobility of those who love one another for the love of Allah. If there is any wise Muslim which can do without that blessing by Allah, no. Only ignorant people of their generous and loving Lord would be absent-minded from that challenge at that opportunity. Do your best, my dear brother and sister, to know the glory and the might of your Lord, the honor of Muhammad, peace be upon him, and the love of Allah and the love of His Prophet to all of us. Do your best in being in the company of the righteous and the obedient. You ride the straight road to the love of Allah, the Almighty, and enjoy all these blessings. May Allah bestow on all of us this joy in the hereafter and in this life. Illuminate our heart with the love of your obedience, O Allah. Bestow on us the love of others for the love of your path and the love of your guidance. And seat us on podiums of light among the elite as a return of the truthfulness of our love to you, O Allah, the most merciful, the most forgiving. May Allah make us among those who hear, listen, and comprehend, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
الناصر تمرين معلش. قالوا تمرين.